tuning in. This is the D. Haywood Show, and I'm your host, D. Haywood. I have two phenomenal people with me, special guests, Pastor Steve Ferreira and Pastor John Rivera. Great pastors of the Manchester area, and let me introduce them, actually have them introduce themselves and a little bit about themselves, starting with Steve.
Hello folks, my name is Steve Ferreira. I pastor a church here in Manchester called the River at Manchester, but it's an offshoot of another ministry that I run called Food for Children. Food for Children has been ministering in the city for 21 years. We pass out food to whoever needs it every Saturday at the JFK Coliseum. We're there from about 8 to noon, and 183 families were served last Saturday.
Awesome, and I'm Pastor John Rivera. I'm actually new to Manchester. I'm originally from New York, moved up here in January of this year, leading the church Hope Tabernacle that's been in existence for about 15 years, and I'm the new pastor there.
Now, basically, I want to get into you, John.
Okay.
If you don't mind me asking you a few questions.
Go right ahead.
Actually, my first question for you is, knowing that you got sworn in to be the new pastor of Manchester, I want to know what were your thoughts, what you were thinking of before you actually got sworn in this area?
Well, I've visited Manchester a number of times in the past. Actually, about 15 years ago, I was here actually doing the phone wiring for the church. So I was familiar with the church. I've had a relationship with the former pastor, Pastor George Rosado, for those 15 years. And when he could no longer lead the church and the possibility of me leading the church was there, it was a very nerve-wracking experience for me.
Now, when you got, because I was at your service when you got sworn in.
That's right. And
I wish I could have videotaped it. I wish you could have been there too, but we all didn't know. But actually, that was you said January. What was that? The date for that?
Well, that was my official move date was in January, but it was mid-February where we had the actual installation service.
Wow, I like this. You know. But I'm happy to know you now, because. So what's your plans for the future here?
Well, I'm hoping that just over time I can build the church and build families. Don't want to just have a big church. I want to be able to impact families, you know, with the gospel of Christ.
Now, you told me a while back that you're from New York.
Yes, I am.
What part of New York again?
I was born actually in New York City in Manhattan, but grew up pretty much from 1 year old till present time in Brooklyn.
I stayed out in New York.
Yeah,
and I didn't like it.
What?
No, at that particular time I didn't like it because, you know, certain things were happening in the city, but I was actually by 10th Avenue.
10th Avenue in Manhattan.
Yeah, I didn't realize where I was, but because when I went in on the bus.
Right.
And I found out, being at the Port Authority, you know, in that area, I was lost. You know, I saw people screaming and yelling, and I'm like, I'm not used to this.
Right.
But even though I lived in Chicago, and Chicago's worse.
That is very similar.
All right. Being in New York and coming out here, what made you decide to come out here, or was that chosen for you to come to Manchester?
It was kind of a mix of the two, I guess. About 3 years ago, I kind of just had a sensing that God wanted me to move on from the current church that I was at, which is, I'll give a little plug for Christ Tabernacle in Queens, New York. One of the best churches I've ever been in contact with and have known. And after praying and speaking to my senior pastor about moving on, because we had this relationship with the Hope Tabernacle, it was kind of a match. The timing worked out perfectly, that they were in need of a pastor, and I was looking to lead a church myself.
So basically, just relocate where
Yes.
you're at. But
Yes. Though I never thought I would leave New York.
no. Do you like it here in Manchester better than New York, or what?
I don't know if I like it better than New York, but I am beginning to like it. The lifestyle is very different here. It's a little slower pace, which I'm getting used to, but you know, I'm enjoying it.
You know, we have a bigger beach out here too.
Oh, really? I haven't been there, so I don't know.
You know, Hampton Beach is a good beach, and you have kids.
Yes.
And so
Huh?
you can bring them to the beach and have some fun.
I would love to do that. But meeting people like yourself and meeting people like Pastor Steve have been
All right,
big
one
help.
of my last questions for you is basically, you have a school.
A school building.
Okay, he has a school building. Now, I know you got some things happening in that school.
Yeah.
And you want to tell your viewers,
Sure.
our viewers, what your plans are with that building?
Well, right now, that's where we have our children's ministry, a nursery, and then classes for children 3 to 8 years old. Very small right now, but we're hoping that as we're there and we start to impact the community, more children would come out, and hopefully it'll become like a community center. And I could kind of partner along with some of the things that Steve is doing to impact the families in the community.
No, that's good, because actually what I'm going to ask you both is going to be at the end. Now I'm going to move on to Steve, the man I've known a little bit longer. All right, this is Steve Ferreira.
That's it.
Your names are, both of you guys' names are a little confusing. I don't know what to call you.
Ferreira and Rivera.
That's it.
Brandon Stimpy. No, just kidding. I'm joking. Actually, you've been here for a while.
I've been in Manchester for about 14 years now.
Wow.
But I had lived here previously in the Hooksett area for 10 years, and I was gone for 10 years. So we moved up from Massachusetts, my family and I, back in the late 70s. And I came to know Christ in the 60s, and little did I know I'd be involved in the ministry and travel around the country a little bit.
Now, my actual real question, how long have you been a pastor?
I've been pastoring since about 1989. So that's, I don't know, how many years is that? 20 years?
20 years.
20 years, yeah.
That's a long time, man.
Yeah, it is. We pastored in Delaware, just outside of Wilmington, in a little town called Wilmington Manor. We pastored from there. We went to Missouri.
All right.
which I enjoyed.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
That's all right.
But the question, where are you originally from, though?
Originally from New Bedford, Mass.
Okay. Now, how long were you out there for a while? Just for a little while, a couple
Out
years?
in Missouri, or in New Bedford?
Bedford.
I left New Bedford when I was 21, moved to Boston, and got married in Boston, and came up here when I was in my 30s.
Not bad. Now, I have a question for both you guys, actually. What made you guys become a pastor?
You first. You've been doing it longer than I have.
I got involved in a local church here in Londonderry some years ago, and just enjoyed the work, enjoyed studying the Bible, and the Lord was kind enough to start opening things up and creating a hunger in me. And one Sunday morning, I happened to be sitting in the congregation and watching my wife. I'm watching the pastor up on the platform, and I said to my wife, "Someday that's going to be me." And it was just an impression I had.
So basically, when you were in church, I guess.
I was just in church, minding my own business.
That was your calling, just to become
That began it. My calling actually came at a youth camp in Colorado Springs.
I lived out there for a while. It's
Beautiful,
really nice area.
beautiful area. Takes you a week to get used to the air so you can breathe. But
You know what I noticed though? There are no bugs out there.
they're smart.
They
can't breathe either.
They can't breathe. No, because the climate is, it's nice.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like the weather. I remember being out there. It was raining over here. It was snowing over here. You know, it was sunny in front of me and hailing in the back.
Yeah, it's Colorado Springs.
Oh, wow.
But it's a really nice area.
Very
now,
nice area.
John,
Yeah.
what made you decide to become a pastor?
Kind of a series of events. I never desired to be a pastor, never thought I would be a pastor, which is kind of strange. I surrendered my life to God when I was about 18 years old through my current wife, my present wife. She ministered to me and, just started going to church and started, similar to Steve, just enjoyed helping people and encouraging people. And the opportunity came for me to come on staff at Christ Tabernacle full time. And I really felt that I wanted to do that. I was the director of the children's ministry there, and that's what I wanted to do. And when I spoke to my pastor and said, hey, I want to do this full time, he said, fantastic, we'll ordain you as a pastor, which kind of took me back a little bit because that wasn't exactly what I was volunteering for. But it happened.
Now, knowing that I got you guys together
Yeah, you did.
for the second time,
Right.
but the first time when I put you guys together, what did you guys think of each other?
I could speak for myself. The moment I spoke to Steve on your cell phone, I knew I had a new friend. Just his responses on the phone was really friendly. He said he looked forward to meeting me, and when we finally met, we had a good time. We really hit it off. I know I hit it off well with him.
Now, in the future, you guys plan